What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and I trust that you are rather upset today. The day I'm putting this together, at least, you might be watching it after. It's Friday, March 4th, 2022. Always nice when you get the 3-4 March, the 4th. Nice, cool, whatever. In 2056, it'll be 3, 4, 5, 6, and maybe in 2056, the Dallas Cowboys will start doing some things that we understand. Like, I'm gonna be fully honest with you, all right? I had put together a video. We had put together a video for you here at the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel, and then all chaos, all pandemonium broke loose. We had to get back in the lab and make sure we covered the things that are happening appropriately. So let's just kind of dive in. We'll try to go chronologically, although it's a little bit difficult. Let's just do it. Let's just see what happens, you and me. So on Thursday, the NFL Combine is going on, obviously, and we're starting to get to the point. We're at the point actually where drills are happening, and so the informational part of the Combine is in the rearview mirror. It's a networking event. It's an event every year, obviously, where coaches and front office executives get together, mingle, discuss, et cetera, and information is yielded relative to free agency because free agency is now about a week and a half away. So on Thursday, it was reported that the Dallas Cowboys are dealing with an injury to tight end Blake Jarwin. Underwent a hip injury that was reported to be extremely uncommon for an NFL player, and put his status for the beginning of the 2022 season, it casted it into doubt. And so Blake Jarwin is somebody who we have all been kind of talking about and counting on relative to the Dallas Cowboys tight end position because Dalton Schultz is set to be a free agent. So this news drops on Thursday. We're all kind of, again, I told you, we put together this video. The conversation is, well, now it's obviously more important for Dalton Schultz to return, Blake Jarwin, et cetera, whatever. And the Cowboys, for what it's worth, the reports were that they want Dalton Schultz back. And Dalton Schultz is eligible for the franchise tag, for what it's worth. I know that you may not be fond of that, and the Dallas Cowboys currently are technically over the salary cap. They can get under it with some restructures and things like that. It's never an end-all be-all situation, and the franchise tag value for tight ends is actually relatively cheap. If the Cowboys were to place the franchise tag on tight end Dalton Schultz, it would be $10.8 million for this season. A franchise tag, in case you are somehow confused, is a one-year fully guaranteed deal unless the Dallas Cowboys worked out a long-term deal with Dalton Schultz. If they did place the franchise tag on Dalton Schultz, they would have until the middle of July to work out a long-term deal. We obviously know that rhyme and rhythm very, very well, having done it with Dak Prescott and even DeMarcus Lawrence, because the Cowboys are very good at this and very good at projecting forward, and they don't have to kind of panic and deal with things as they come about, as evidenced by the number of times they've placed the franchise tag on important players in recent memory. But so that was that. I mean, that was already kind of a big deal, kind of figuring out what was going to happen. Are the Cowboys going to keep Dalton Schultz around? What's going to happen with Blake Jarwin, et cetera? And on Thursday night, it was reported by the Dallas Morning News that Amari Cooper, that it was unlikely that he was going to be back with the Cowboys. Now, that's one way to put it, and that kind of started everybody getting a little bit upset about this. We wrote about it at bloggingtheboys.com, and then on Friday morning is when chaos fully arrived. Adam Schefter's tweet really let's just show you the tweet. Adam Schefter tweeted on Friday morning that the Cowboys are likely, so it's a different verbiage, different level of verbiage here. The Cowboys are likely going to release Amari Cooper before the start of the league year. In case you are unaware, the new league year in the NFL begins on Wednesday, March 16th at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So again, we're less than 2 weeks away from there now. So this is Adam Schefter reporting it, again, the most insider of all NFL insiders, and using the word likely. And so, this time of year, this is about as official as something like this can get, that the Dallas Cowboys, let's get this graphic back up here now, are in fact probably going to be moving on from Amari Cooper. Now, the Cowboys can create $16 million in salary cap space by this. And to be very clear here, this is something that has felt obvious. If you have been following along, if you have followed us at Blog of the Boys, bloggingtheboys.com, here on the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel, the Blog of the Boys podcast network, we have been talking about how the Cowboys built themselves an escape hatch in Amari Cooper's contract that they gave him in 2020 for the 2022 offseason. That is where we are in 2022. Now, it was very obviously purposeful from the Cowboys to set this escape hatch up for 2022 when Michael Gallup's rookie contract was running up. The Cowboys clearly set themselves up, and this is a conversation that we had many times, to make a decision between Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup. Now, something I've been talking about on some of our shows on our podcast network, I'm a big fan of making decisions decisions in life generally when you're not emotionally compromised. And so if the Cowboys 2 years ago said, you know what, 2 years from now in 2022, we're going to go ahead and we're going to release Amari Cooper. We're going to eat those $6 million that we have to, which is nothing. It's not a big deal for the Cowboys to move on from Amari. And we're going to give Michael Gallup a long-term extension. Now, obviously, the Cowboys at the time of giving Amari this deal did not know that CeeDee Lamb would fall to them in the draft a few months later. They did not know that Dak Prescott would get hurt the following season or the ensuing season. They did not know that the next season in 2021 that Michael Gallup would miss a lot of time with a calf strain, that Amari Cooper would miss some time by being on the COVID list and not being vaccinated, that CeeDee Lamb would miss time himself, and then Michael Gallup would tear his ACL in the penultimate game of the regular season right before he hit free agency. Now, Michael Gallup did have his surgery the week of the Super Bowl. In fact, we spoke to Michael Gallup the week of the Super Bowl. If you go back here in our channel, you can watch that interview. I did my best to press him on free agency, but he kept things close to the vest. So all that to be said, we're moving very fast because there's a lot to cover here. The Dallas Cowboys, while they may have made this decision 2 years ago, things have changed. Amari Cooper is without question the most reliable pass-catching option in their offense. Is he a top-flight wide receiver? Do you believe that? If I sat here and asked you to name the top 5 wide receivers in the NFL, would Amari Cooper be in that list? No, he wouldn't. You would tell me Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson. We could go on and on and on and on. And what separates Amari Cooper from those guys is that he does not get the target share that classic and traditional number 1 wide receivers get in the NFL. That's not Amari's fault. That's Kellen Moore's fault. That's Mike McCarthy's fault. Maybe you believe that's Jerry Jones's fault or Stephen Jones's fault or something. And in that sense, there's a lot of angles to this. I kind of understand this. I kind of understand the Cowboys saying, we don't want to pay $20 million to somebody that we're not going to use like a $20 million wide receiver. That teeny little bit of this makes sense. But maybe what you should do, Cowboys, is start using him like a $20 million wide receiver because that's what he is. We talked about the restructures the Cowboys could do. They could just waft their pen and have a restructure to Amari Cooper's deal, create some salary cap space in the here and now. If they do want to bring back guys like Michael Gallup or Dalton Schultz or Randy Gregory or Cedric Wilson or whoever, they could do that if they really wanted to, but they very clearly seem determined to move on from Amari Cooper, and not just move on from Amari Cooper, but move on from him and choose Michael Gallup instead. On Friday afternoon, Adam Schefter also reported that the Cowboys are close to a deal with Michael Gallup. Now, look, Michael Gallup is kind of a victim is not the right word, but he is kind of on the receiving end of some of this whiplash because there are going to be a lot of people very upset with Michael Gallup for getting the bag if he does ultimately get the bag. Now, I want to be very clear here, and I think you agree with me. Michael Gallup and any player in any situation on any team in any sport should absolutely get the most money possible. You never know how many bites at the apple you're going to get. You should always get the most amount possible. Now, that being said, if the Cowboys wind up giving Michael Gallup something around, I don't know, making up a number here, $15 million a year, why are you doing that? Why are you cutting Amari Cooper just to basically do that? They're effectively going to take all of the salary cap savings that they are getting from releasing Amari Cooper, assuming they do wind up doing that, and giving it to Michael Gallup. I love Michael Gallup. You love Michael Gallup. But I don't think any of us think that Michael Gallup is the player that Amari Cooper is, and that's where I feel badly for him. It is turning into this competition, and the Cowboys are kind of smearing Michael Gallup, the player they're going to ultimately bring back in the process of getting rid of Amari Cooper. The Cowboys, like nobody else, find a way to trample on their players and ruin them in terms of their, how their fan base talks about them. There are going to be so many people upset with and pissed off at Michael Gallup for just being the guy the Cowboys chose because the Cowboys went about this so awkwardly. And you think about this, the Cowboys now clearly are in a position, and all the reports have been that they want to keep Michael Gallup. They are thinking about placing the franchise tag on Dalton Schultz because they cannot lose him. Michael Gallup and Dalton Schultz were both drafted in 2018. That was the draft that the Cowboys took Leighton Vander Esch and Connor Williams. That draft happened at AT&T Stadium a few days after Jason Witten retired the first time. All right. This has been brewing ever since then. And if the Cowboys, like I said a little while ago, if they truly were forward-thinking enough to where they knew, they believed, they had made the decision, come 2022, we're going to go ahead, we're going to move on from Amari Cooper because we've made that decision. We created that escape hatch. If that was going to be the case, if you were going to choose Michael Gallup over Amari Cooper, then why did you not sign Michael Gallup to a long-term deal last year? And a lot of people's rebuttal to that, well, you're going to get him cheaper now because he got hurt. And while that is technically true, the Cowboys had no idea that Michael Gallup was going to get hurt this past season when they were facing this situation a year ago. If the Cowboys were forward thinking, they would have looked at Michael Gallup and looked at Dalton Schultz, and they would have said, a year from now, we're planning on cutting Amari Cooper. We are going to need somebody to pair with CeeDee Lamb, or our offense is going to be full of nobody. And the Cowboys did not do that. They might luck into this. They're going to have to overpay. They're going to have to significantly overpay Michael Gallup and Dalton Schultz if they want to keep both of them around. How do I know this? Because they know that the Cowboys are moving on from Amari Cooper. The fact that the Cowboys can't keep their mouth shut with any of this is, kind of just them throwing away all of their whatever leverage they would have. They are completely and totally forfeiting by making all of this information public, and none of it makes any sense. Michael Gallup is going to get overpaid. Dalton Schultz, if he signs a long-term deal with the Cowboys, is going to get overpaid. That is not speaking to how Michael Gallup and Dalton Schultz are not good football players, but they are going to get overpaid. Stephen Jones loves to talk about how he does not like free agency because good players get paid like great players. That is what is going to happen. These good players are going to get paid like great players because they have all of the leverage, and that right now the Dallas Cowboys need them more than they need the team. That is the reality of business, supply and demand in any sector of the world, any sector of business. And the Cowboys have completely created this mess and made this bed that we all have to lie in themselves. The Cowboys, if you think about it, have had no ability to project or forecast anywhere into the future when it comes to any of their negotiations in recent memory. DeMarcus Lawrence, they put on the franchise tag, or rather they placed the franchise tag on him. He played on it. He called their bluff. They tagged him again. He threatened not to get shoulder surgery. They had to overpay him. Zeke Elliott held out, went to Cabo, etc., etc. They had to overpay him. Dak Prescott, they placed the tag on him. He called their bluff. He made all the money from the tag, just like DeMarcus Lawrence did. They tagged him again. He called their bluff, and they had to overpay him. I am not saying that DeMarcus Lawrence, Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott, pick one of these players, are overpaid and that they are not good football players. The Zeke conversation is, again, a very specific one that we can have another day, but they are overpaid in that the Cowboys could have gotten, at the very least, DeMarcus Lawrence and Dak Prescott, and the same is true now for Michael Gallup and Dalton Schultz, for much less than they ultimately did, because the Cowboys do not have an ability to project or forecast into the future. They have to pay the going rate. If you pay the going rate a year or two ahead of time, then the going rate is not as impactful when you get to that point in time. And that is a lesson that year in and year out, Stephen Jones has failed to learn when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. And now we're in this position where they have had to choose Michael Gallup over Amari Cooper because they are committed to saving all this money from salary cap space that they could have had if they just had an ability to forecast into the future. What do you say? What do you say? The next week and a half are going to be very interesting. The Cowboys probably won't cut Amari Cooper until closer to the beginning of the new league year. They could always trade him, but if you are, I don't know, pick a team, if you're the Chiefs or you're the Browns or you're the Packers or you're the Raiders, not the Raiders, if you're whoever, the Bills, the Rams, whatever, why are you trading for Amari Cooper when the Cowboys have already told the world that they're prepared to cut him? Why would you give up anything and take Amari Cooper's contract as it is when you could just wait, watch the Cowboys cut him, and then sign him yourself? I mean, the Cowboys have yet to learn the lesson of keeping their mouths shut when it comes to important things like this. And that's tough. That's tough, and that's frustrating. That's life. That's life. That's life. That's life. And we're going to see, the cost of releasing Amari Cooper is big. Yes, you get to save money against your salary cap. And I love Dak Prescott. I know you love Dak. I think you do. There's, that's a sore subject for some people. But we have never seen Dak Prescott be an elite quarterback in the NFL without Amari Cooper on this team. That's not me saying that he's incapable of doing it, but that's just saying it was Amari Cooper's arrival in 2018 when the Cowboys traded that first-round pick for him that ultimately unlocked who Dak Prescott has become as an NFL passer. Now, I realize that, the second half of this past season doesn't exactly work towards that narrative, but you get my point. Amari Cooper has been a big part of all of the great things that have happened to this offense over the last 3 years, including Kellen Moore's rise as the team's offensive coordinator, one that the Cowboys quadrupled down on this year when they brought him back for his fourth season to call the offense. So, my final thought on this, and obviously we're going to be talking about this a lot, and we have some more videos that we're going to be putting together before free agency, is I feel badly for Amari Cooper that he that he signed the contract that he did. He left himself susceptible to this 2 years ago, and that's just business in the NFL. I feel badly for Michael Gallup in that he's going to kind of be casted as this villain by a lot of Cowboys fans because he's going to represent the absence of Amari Cooper, and that's not Michael Gallup's fault. I feel badly for Dalton Schultz in a similar way. The person I feel the most badly for, I think, and I kind of move around, it's just depending on the moment, I feel badly for Mike McCarthy, and I'm not a Mike McCarthy person. I'm already out on Mike McCarthy, and that's okay. Sometimes we all feel different ways, and maybe you're still somebody who believes in Mike McCarthy and what he can do, and I would love to be proven wrong. Maybe you agree with me, but whether you are team for or against Mike McCarthy as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, the fact that his team has done the things that they have done to him so far this offseason, and we are still in only the first week in March, is really unfair to him. We have an article that David Howman wrote at blogontheboys.com that I thought was really great and really well done about how the Cowboys are setting him up to fail this season. Now, some of the things that have happened are honestly outside of the Cowboys and even Jerry Jones's control. They can't control the fact that Sean Payton retired or walked away, whatever you want to call it, from the New Orleans Saints. They can't control people speculating and connecting dots. They can't control that. People are going to talk about Sean Payton one way or another, but what Jerry Jones can control is openly dangling Mike McCarthy's future when he does hits on 105.3 The Fan. What they can control is taking away Mike McCarthy's number one wide receiver. I mean, imagine being Mike McCarthy and knowing that you are going into a season that is make or break, not just for your career with the Dallas Cowboys, but perhaps your career as a head coach in the NFL in general, and the Cowboys decide to pull away your number one wide receiver and do it in this dramatic, toxic fashion. It would be very frustrating. I mean, you would be frustrated. I would be frustrated. I would believe that Mike McCarthy's frustrated. So it's tough. It's tough to understand. And to be very clear, this could work out. I'm not saying that they are 100% doomed. This could work out. Amari Cooper could sign somewhere else, not be a great player. Michael Gallup could turn into a phenomenal player opposite of CeeDee Lamb. And that's because Michael Gallup's going to miss most of the offseason, by the way. That's an incredible gamble to take. All of that can happen, and the Dallas Cowboys would act like they were right. And they would be right in a literal sense, but that would be the Cowboys getting lucky. Everything that they have done well over the last 20 years has kind of been the product of luck. Landing Tony Romo as an undrafted free agent, landing Dak Prescott as a fourth-round quarterback, even landing Micah Parsons. When you think about it, they wanted J.C. Horner, Patrick Surtain. If not for the Panthers and Broncos wiping them out, they wouldn't have the NFL's reigning defensive rookie of the year. So that would be total and complete luck. And sometimes you get lucky, and sometimes that's okay. Most of the time, in fact, all of the time getting lucky is okay, but you cannot bank on luck as a strategy. And that is what the Dallas Cowboys are doing these days, and that is really unsettling and really hard to trust. All right, so if you have any thoughts, I would love to hear them. My name is RJ Ochoa. You know me from the Blog on the Boys universe. You can hit me up on Twitter or Instagram at RJ Ochoa. My DMs are open. You can also leave a comment here. We certainly encourage that. Please subscribe to our channel, like the video, leave a comment. We'd love to interact and talk about all of this mess. If email is more your speed, rj.ochoa@sbnation.com is where you can find me. Next week and a half, next 2 weeks are going to be very, very interesting, but we're going to get through them together. We're going to have a lot of fun talking about them here on the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel, so make sure you don't go anywhere. Make sure you do subscribe. You want to turn on alerts, whatever. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just here to say, hey, next time we talk about the Cowboys, I hope it's you and me hanging out. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time.